Now let's look at array fill method. It changes the elements in an array to a provided value, which means that let's say there is an array a1 2 3 4 5, and I'm saying that you fill 0, which means that you fill the whole thing with 0. So basically it so let's try that out, whether it modifies the array or just returns a value. So let's see, let's const arr is equal to, let's say 1 2 3. Okay, and I do arr dot fill, and fill with, let's say 5, any value you can write. Okay, so I try to fill everything with 5, and then I print arr. You see that everything, so and what it returns, let's say it returns arr2, and I want to see what is arr2. I'll see that that is also same, which means that it modifies the array and returns also that modified array, and also modifies the array. So directly after running this statement, if you run print arr, then arr is modified. Okay, that is fine. So what is doing that, whether you are filling it with 5 10 99 doesn't matter, whatever value you give, every element will be filled with that value. Okay, now that might not be interesting. Interesting is something like this thing, but so if you write simply one argument 0 or 8 or whatever, that thing will fill the whole thing. But what if you want to set only, let's say only do these two elements, or only these two elements, or only these three elements, I want to set it with some value, okay, 0 or -1 or something. Then you can use something like this, that this second argument is start index and third argument is end index, from where till where you have to fill the thing. Okay, so here I'm saying 2, which means that from, and again, if you don't give the last index, then it will by default go till the end. So starting with 2 index till end, you fill 0. This is the meaning of this thing, right? So starting with 0 1 2, this is the 2 index, right? So starting from 3, everything is filled with 0. So you can see that 1 2, and after from 3, everything is filled with 0. Let's see here, and again you can fill anything what you want. 0 to 4, from 2 till, not 4, till 4 minus 1. So that whatever earlier we saw in some methods, this thing is there, right? Is slice and all those things. So similarly here also the same thing is happening, that from 2 till not end, till end minus 1. So from 2 to 4 minus 1, from 2 0 1 2 to 4 minus 1 is 3. So which means that these two values 3 and 4, you see. Again, you can have also in negative indices. So from -4 to -2, what is -4? -1, -2, -3, -4. From here till -2, -1. -2 -1 means -2 -1 means -3. So from here till -3, -1, -2, -3. So these two values will be filled with 0, as you can see here. And the fill method returns the modified array which we saw. Now there is something called array.isArray. It determines whether the passed value is an array or not. Okay, so let's say something is given, right? Now we know that whatever, if I have anything, let's say obj is equal to this object, right? And let's say const xyz is equal to null. Now we know that there are many ways where if I simply write type of arr, or I write type of obj, or I write type of xyz, in all cases I will get object, right? But how do I test whether that thing is particularly array or not, right? For that there is a condition, that there is a test which is array.isArray method. If you use this, then you can use something like this, array.isArray, and if that thing is an array, then it will return true, otherwise it will return false, right? So you can do something like this. You can test obj, which should return you false. You can test any other variable, or for that matter you can write directly, give any number, doesn't matter, but everything should return you false except if it is an array. Okay, and again, if this is an array, let's say instead of 10 it is 10 array, then it will give you true. And again, it can be an array of arrays, doesn't matter. Like the main thing is that it should be at least like at the first level it should be array. And again, it can be also something like this, where it is an array of something, I don't care, like object like foo 5, anything, right? If at the first level that is array, that is returning true, otherwise it is returning false. Okay, and you can see here also. So let's say object.keys. This is an object, but object.keys returns an array of keys, and that's why again this whole thing, if you pass then array.isArray, it will return true. Okay. Array constructor. Now array constructor is something like this. You can call this word array like a function. So you have not defined this function. This is inbuilt, right? But you can call this function like a function, but you have to write new keyword, and that basically is called constructor. This sort of syntax is called constructor, where you implicit objects in the language. You call it with your constructor arguments, and this whole thing returns you something. Okay. Now what this whole thing will return, that most probably like whatever the naming is there, it will be that only. So it is an array constructor. This, if you do new array something like this, then it returns an array. Now what will be this array? What will be this array? Actually, there is a number which you can pass here, and if you pass that number, then it will create another array of that length, but there will be nothing in there. So for example, if I create a new array, then this arr, if I print, then it will be an array. If you print arr.length, if you do array.isArray, all these will be true, and arr.length will be 5, which means that arr is a valid array. But if you print arr, then nothing is there. So basically you can understand it like that if you pass 5, then in memory 5 slots are reserved just, and not slots are reserved. You can understand that some array, empty array is there, and there you are saying that 5 items are there, but that items are not existing, because slots in the sense that I was saying that only, that you are saying that these are placeholders for items, but items are not there. Now this is important, because what happens is that if you create that array, and let's say new array, and let's say you create 3, okay, you pass 3 as the argument, right? Then you will say that yeah, it is a valid array, right? It is a valid array. You can test it, that arr gives you true. Yeah, in fact you can test that, yeah, what is its length. It is a valid array, its length is 3. Yeah, but if you actually print the arr, then you will see that you will get something like this, 3 empty slots. Now you see that one important thing, that let's say you want to access these things. Let's say 0, at 0 position, what it is there, it will return you undefined. But remember that this thing is different than something like this. Understand? This is important. You can create an array of 3 undefined values. It means that this array has 3 undefined values, and those 3 values are undefined. Undefined is the value there. But here it is saying that there is no item. And if you try to access, then this array syntax says that if nothing is there, then I would have returned undefined, and that's why undefined is returned. But undefined is actually not there here. Nothing is there. 3 empty slots are here. Okay. Now you can extend the array. So for example, you can do something like, yeah, I have a length, I have an array of 3 lengths, that is fine. But what if I say something like arr 3 is equal to 10? So what will happen? These 3 slots are there, right? So 3 empty slots are there. So I will just write x. Actually, these are like not slots. I'm saying that nothing is there, so just like that. So the index is what? 0, 1, 2. These are the 3 indices are there, right? Now 0, 1, 2. Now let's say at 3 index you are inserting 10. Then if you print this, then you will see something like this is there. That 3 empty items followed by 10. If you do something like, let's say 5, then what will happen, that already 3 empty slots were there, and now you are saying that I don't know what is here, but at, see, it is 0 index, 1 index, 2 index. I don't know what is at 3, 4, but at 5 index I want to store 10. So if you are extending and you are not saying what to do with the earlier, then again that will be like empty slots. X means simply empty slots, it is not X here, right? So now you will see that if I print this, then it will say that 5 empty slots followed by 10. You understand? So 5 empty slots followed by 10. So yeah, in that case it can be extended. Now the thing is that you should be aware that what is the difference between this and undefined. Undefined is not there, and more importantly, when you iterate over these things, how it works. Okay. So let's say for simplicity, just 3 and something like that. So there will be 3 empty items and then followed by 10. So basically ARR is this and ARR dot length is 4, right? There are 4 items, not 4 items, there are 4 slots, 3 are empty slots, and 1 is 10, right? And the whole length is 10. But you see that let's say you do something like for off and you try to get that value from ARR and you print that value. If you print that value, let's say I'm just putting arrow 8 just to clearly say that this is different from this. Okay, anyways. So not A, it is V. So V is the variable, V is the value in the array, right? Okay. You can clearly see that this for off has iterated 4 times. 4 is the length of the array, 4 times. And when it is trying to take the first value, nothing is there, and still undefined is returned. So it's not that undefined is there, it is nothing. Okay. So I am just trying to again emphasize that point, that if you simply would have done something like const ARR is equal to, let's say, undefined and 10. If you iterate over this, then also you will get undefined 10. But this is not this. Okay. Here undefined is not there. Here, if you see here, then basically these are just empty items, nothing is there. But if you try to access that, since nothing is there, then some value has to come here, and that value is coming undefined is not there. Okay. Why that is important? Because this behavior is different in for off and for each. Let's try the same thing with for each rather than for off. Okay. So you know that array syntax of for each, like ARR dot for each, and then you can take the value and index, right? So value is the first argument, index is the second argument. But yeah, here I don't need index because I know that it will be 0, 1, 2, 3. But let's just print this thing. So let's same thing. Let's print that. Now you see that for each has not iterated over like empty slots. It has just iterated over values which are like valid values. Okay. Okay. But if it would have been something like this, that instead of this would be a normal something like this, right? And now if I will iterate, then you will see that it will iterate over all the values, because, and that is the difference I'm saying, that if undefined is a proper value, then for each will go through all of them. And if it is not a proper value, then it will skip those values. For each skips those values. So you have to be aware that for each the behavior is that, right? If you all the values there are no empty slots, then you don't need to bother about that. But this is like one of the proofs that which I said, that it is like just empty slots, there is nothing there. Okay. But for off like goes through all of that. Okay. So it doesn't matter in that sense. Okay, that is fine. I believe yeah. So let's go ahead. For each does not bother, but for off only for each does not go through the empty items, but for off goes through all the items, whether it is empty or not, it doesn't matter. Okay. Now there is something called array constructor. Okay. So what happens is that if we have already seen this sort of constructor where only one item is passed, if you are passing more than one argument, okay, then what happens that something like this, let's say instead of one argument I have passed 5, 10, 2 things, then a different behavior is there. Then it does not create a new array or something with length 5. Actually the behavior is different. If you pass multiple items, then it creates an array with all the items which you have given. Okay, so 5, 10 you have provided, it creates a new array of length 2 because you have given 2 arguments, and 5, 10. So now you can understand that you have to remember this is confusing. So if you pass 2 arguments, the behavior is different. If you pass 1 argument, it is like completely different behavior. Okay, but that is how it is there right from the beginning. So again 1 to 3, more than 1 argument. So right, so 1 to 3 is fine, but I'm not interested in that. That is simply 3 length 3 items in one length array. Here those 3 arguments those 3 values are passed as arguments. So spread operator, we know that, right? 5, 10, and we have 3 more arguments. So you can understand that when I put spread operator ARR1, now this ARR constructor has how many arguments? 2 and 3, 5 arguments. And that's why it will create an array with those 5 items. So just a reminder of the syntax which we know. Whenever these like variable number of arguments is there, we can use the spread operator and paste those values there. And again, AR.length is 5, yeah, obviously. Now AR.off. AR.off is a simpler syntax where if you want to create an array with some values, then you can simply use something like that, I want to create an array and in that only one item should be there, 5. And then one item 5 will be there, right? If I want 2 items, then you pass 2 items. Understand? So now you can understand that this is a simpler syntax than constructor, because here whether you pass 1 item, 2 item, 3 item, whatever items you pass, it returns you a new array with that many items. Okay, it is not confusing, and that's why and here also the same syntax will apply, that AR.off and 2, and then you spread these 3, then 5 items array will be created. The main thing is that you have to remember the something like this, that if you use array constructor syntax, then you have to remember that these empty slots length array will be created, and if you provide multiple values, then only the array values will be created. And if you simply provide a particular value or multiple values in off, behavior is same. Whether you provide 3 values, 2 values, 1 value, always it will create array of whatever values you have provided. So we can clearly see that array.off is a simpler syntax, and in order to like create these some arrays from some values, you should better use array.off rather than the confusing syntax of array constructor. Okay, so that should be all for this video. See you in the next one.